Defeatism is a philosophical or psychological attitude characterized by the expectation or acceptance of failure or the belief that efforts to achieve success are futile. It often involves a resignation to undesirable outcomes, even before those outcomes materialize. While it may be rooted in various historical, existential, or psychological contexts, defeatism generally implies a surrender of hope or motivation in the face of obstacles. Here are some key aspects of defeatism, both from a philosophical and psychological standpoint. Philosophical foundations: existentialism and nihilism. Defeatism has similarities with existential and nihilistic philosophies, where the meaning or purpose of life is seen as elusive, and the recognition of the inherent suffering or meaninglessness of existence can lead to a sense of futility. For some, this recognition can lead to a defeatist attitude where nothing seems worth pursuing because all efforts are perceived as ultimately leading to failure or emptiness. 1. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that life does not have inherent meaning, and while this could inspire a sense of defeatism, he also proposed the idea that individuals could create meaning through their own choices and actions. 1. The defeatist, in contrast, may give up on this creative potential. 2. Friedrich Nietzsche criticized a defeatist mentality in his philosophy of the will to power. 2. He advocated for strength and overcoming obstacles rather than succumbing to despair or resignation. Stoicism, as taught by philosophers like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, acknowledges that there are many things beyond our control and that suffering is a natural part of life. However, Stoicism advises cultivating an attitude of resilience and focus on what we can control, rather than embracing defeat. While a Stoic might appear to acknowledge failure, they would see it as an opportunity for growth, unlike defeatism, which often involves giving up entirely. For the Stoic, defeatism would be seen as a failure to recognize one's own capacity to choose how to respond to adversity. Psychological aspects: learned helplessness. A related concept in psychology is learned helplessness, which occurs when an individual repeatedly encounters situations in which they feel unable to control or change their circumstances, leading to a general sense of powerlessness and a tendency to give up trying. This phenomenon can be seen as a psychological manifestation of defeatism. Cognitive biases. People with a defeatist attitude may fall prey to cognitive distortions such as 1. Overgeneralization, seeing one failure as an indicator of permanent failure in all areas of life. 2. Catastrophizing, expecting the worst possible outcome and assuming that even small setbacks are disastrous. 3. All or nothing thinking, believing that if something can't be done perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. In this sense, defeatism can be a form of self-sabotage, where a person internalizes failure before even trying or refuses to take proactive steps to change their situation. Social and political contexts. 1. Historical defeatism. In times of war, social upheaval, or political decline, a defeatist attitude may emerge when individuals or groups feel powerless against overwhelming odds. 1. For instance, in the context of World War I, some intellectuals and artists expressed defeatism as a response to the horrors of the war and the seeming futility of human conflict. 2. Political defeatism. This can also emerge in political contexts, where certain movements or groups may feel that efforts to bring about change are doomed to fail. 2. This is especially common in times of political repression or stagnation, where the belief in the effectiveness of collective action can be severely weakened. Criticism of defeatism. 1. Detrimental to progress. Philosophers and thinkers often criticize defeatism for being a barrier to growth, achievement, and the pursuit of justice. 1. A defeatist mindset can stifle personal development, prevent social change, and discourage efforts to overcome challenges. 2. Moral responsibility. Some argue that defeatism is morally irresponsible because it may prevent individuals from taking action in situations where they could make a meaningful difference. 2. In this sense, a defeatist attitude can be seen as a failure to take responsibility for one's own potential and to act for the greater good. How to overcome defeatism. 1. Cultivate resilience, adopting practices that increase mental and emotional resilience, such as mindfulness, self-compassion, and focusing on small, manageable goals, can help individuals move past a defeatist attitude. 2. Reframe failure. Rather than viewing failure as final or personal, viewing it as an opportunity for growth can shift the mindset from defeatism to a more constructive, proactive one. 3. Challenge negative thinking. Being aware of cognitive distortions and actively working to counter them can help prevent defeatism from taking hold. Conclusion: defeatism, whether in philosophy or psychology, is ultimately a mindset that limits growth and progress. While it might have some roots in existential recognition of life's inherent struggles, it can be detrimental when it paralyzes individuals from acting or seeking positive change. Understanding its psychological foundations and confronting the underlying assumptions can help mitigate its effects, fostering a more hopeful and action-oriented outlook.